You guys want to see a reason to take Cuba?
We continue to follow breaking news right now. Cuba's government confirming that its Coast Guard killed 4 people on board a speedboat from Florida. The Interior Ministry alleges that the people on the speedboat opened fire first off the Cuban coast earlier
today. I believe
today.
in the Cuban government has to say.
According to Cuba's embassy, 6 other people were also hurt in the violent confrontation and were given medical attention. Good evening. I'm Lauren Pastrana. Thank you for joining us. CBS News Miami's Anna McAllister is your reporter live in Miami. And Anna, you spoke to a local Cuba expert about how unusual the shooting was.
That's right, Lauren. And according to the
Cuban
Cuban
embassy, take 25 minutes to respond.
People on board that Florida speedboat when the Cuban Coast Guard returned fire. I want to take you now to a map to give you a better look at the area where this all happened. According to Cuban officials, they say this happened about 1 nautical mile off the coast of the Villa Clara province earlier today. Cuban officials say when 5 members of their Coast Guard approached this speedboat that the people on board that Florida boat opened fire on the Cuban Coast Guard members. And again, 4 people on that Florida boat were killed. 6 people were injured and evacuated from that boat. And we did speak to a local Cuban expert who talked about the significance of this incident.
It should be interesting.
This is very unusual for somebody with a Florida tag on a boat to go into Cuban waters armed. We haven't seen this in years.
No kidding.
Many years.
It usually doesn't happen. That was, that was what the expert had to say, and they cut it. What he was going to say is, this is not normal. This is not normal because an American boat would not go and do that. Here's what I think happened, and this is just my thought. I don't want to play that game too often. I usually don't. My guess is this boat, if it was from America, was not near that close to Cuba, but the Cuban Coast Guard moved out and opened fire on American citizens, and they're trying to avoid war. Because that would be the next step if you're killing American citizens. We just annex your entire country. And with Cuba, it would do them well to let us just do that. Same with Venezuela. Now, I could be wrong, but the other option is cartel members were having a boat they stole and trying to smuggle in. I feel like something's a bit fishy here, though. Cuba, I just don't trust at all. There's something wrong here, and this reporting is not the best. I know Marco Rubio has said something about this already. I haven't had a chance to really listen to what he had to say on it. I know that he's looking into it and that the government's looking into it. I would love to know who exactly was on the vessel. For an American ship to open fire, especially a civilian American ship, to open fire on a coast guard of any country is incredibly unrealistic. Unless maybe they were gang members or cartel members that were stationed in Florida, in which case, good job to the Coast Guard from Cuba. We don't need any more cartel members out there. We need to eradicate all of them. The point is, something here isn't adding up. Let's see what this ridiculously gabbled out gal has to say.
And according to Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer, he is launching a full investigation with federal, local, and state partners into what happened. And coming up at 7 o'clock tonight, we're going to hear from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Of course, this is a developing story, so stay with us on air and online as we learn more. But for now, reporting live from Miami, Anna McAllister, CBS News, Miami.
She just really wants to get back to the vodka. 100%. She has SSRI and vodka eyes. I'm not going to lie. It's not nice to say. I'm sure she's a sweet gal, but this is a gal who she's in Florida. She just wants to get drunk. She got a call, get down on the scene, get as close to the water as you can, get in front of the cameras, and she's like, okay, I guess I'll do that. 100%. 100%. And I don't mean that in a disparaging way, because I know a bunch of girls that are like that. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's your thing. I'm not trying to hate you for it. I'm just saying, what the hell. But what do you guys think about this whole Cuba thing? Do you think it's going to cause the next issue where America finally takes Cuba? We should have a long time ago. Just saying. Now, we had an agreement to let Cuba be Cuba. The problem is, Cuba keeps being Cuba in the dumbest way possible. They keep being Cuba in a way that is the dumbest way to be Cuba. We had an agreement with them. What do? They sell off things to China and to our enemies. That violates our agreement, so your sovereignty doesn't necessarily exist anymore if we don't want it to exist. The thing about America that people forget is we can literally take over whatever nation we want. That is a fact. Whether you enjoy that fact or not, whether you're willing to accept that, there'll be a lot of casualties for some places, sure. But if America wanted to, we could just take things. I'm not saying we should do that, because I think having other sovereign nations is a great idea. I'm not a fan of globalism. I don't think that that's necessarily apropos. In fact, I don't agree with globalism at all. But the idea is that if America has an enemy, there's no reason we shouldn't take your resources, take over your country, annex it, and give the people their rights back. Because, let's face it, America's enemies are usually places where people don't have any rights, like we do in America. Their rights have been stripped from them, the overall people. It's usually a regime that takes over and treats the regular civilians like crap. Or they have the ability to expand and do incredibly well. But because people get greedy, power hungry, amorous takes over, and the hubris gets involved, and you end up in places like Venezuela and Cuba and parts of Africa, and China, and North Korea. People forget there's consequences to their actions once they have money and power. And then they forget about their people immediately after getting to power. This is how the Democrat Party works. So keep that in mind. Things happening anywhere could happen here too. Reagan said, losing liberty is only one generation away. It's always one generation away. He didn't mean that as advice for the Democrats. It was a warning. It's like 1984. Orwell didn't mean that to be a guideline to how you control things. It was a warning to everyone else around you when you want that kind of power. Beware of a person who wants power and lacks humility. You can tell false humility. You see it in Gavin Newsom all the time. Ilhan Omar. Any of those people. So be very careful who you put into office. And be very careful of who you allow to educate your children. Because there's people out there that just are the dumbest people I've ever met that work in education. Anyway, I'm Moo Juice Magic. I love you in the face. It's been too long. I miss you, smoochies. Catch you later, guys.